All right, so we're in the book of 3rd John together, and we're going to start in verse 1, and I'm going to read through the text with you. Before we do that, I'd like to say a word of prayer, and you can pray along with me. Father, I thank you for this day, and I do pray that you please be with us during this time. Father, I thank you that you are good, that you love us, and that you laid your life down for us in the person of your Son, Jesus Christ. I pray, Father, that we would love you in this time, that we'd love each other. God, give us good insight on how we can be creative and how we can be intentional about having community. May you be glorified during this time. And I pray for those who are affected by this virus that you would please heal them quickly, let them not have lasting damage. Protect those who haven't been infected, Lord. Help our nation and the nations around the world. Just get a hold on this, Father. Let it taper down, so that we can quickly get back together. Please, Father, would you grant us health and security during this time? But if not, we will continue to worship you and look into your word together. In Jesus' name, amen. So 3 John chapter 1, or verse 1 rather. Looking at the screen together, the elder to the beloved Gaius, whom I love in truth. Beloved, I pray that all may go well with you and that you may be in good health, as it goes well with your soul. For I rejoiced greatly when the brothers came and testified to your truth, as indeed you are walking in the truth. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth. Beloved, it is a faithful thing you do in all your efforts for these brothers, strangers as they are, who testified to your love before the church. You will do well to send them on their journey in a manner worthy of God, for they have gone out for the sake of the name, accepting nothing from the Gentiles. Therefore we ought to support people like these, that we may be fellow workers for the truth. I have written something to the church, but Diotrephes, who likes to put himself first, does not acknowledge our authority. So if I come, I will bring up what he is doing, talking wicked nonsense against us. And not content with that, he refuses to welcome the brothers, and also stops those who want to, and puts them out of the church. Beloved, do not imitate evil, but imitate good. Whoever does good is from God. Whoever does evil has not seen God. Demetrius has received a good testimony from everyone, and from the truth itself. We also add our testimony, and you know that our testimony is true. I had much to write to you, but I would rather not write with pen and ink. I hope to see you soon, and we will talk face to face. Peace be to you. The friends greet you. Greet the friends, each by name. 3 John 1. To start out with, I just want to note very quickly these last two verses. I typically don't start at the end, but those last two verses I feel are very appropriate for what we're going through right now. I hope to see you soon, and we will talk face to face. I just wonder what John would say about our times right now, that this is ideal, face to face, talking with people, making those relationships, and I understand we can't do that, but hopefully we can do that soon. Well, let's go back to verse 1, and we'll work through this together. This book breaks down very nicely. If you kind of picked up on it, there are 3 people that are mentioned in this book. We have Gaius, who is here at the very beginning, and pretty much this whole page is going to deal with this man. And then the next page, I'll go ahead and go to the next page, is we have Diotrephes, and then at the bottom, in verse 12, we have Demetrius. We're going to look at all 3, and that's going to be sort of 3 sections. The main 2 sections are the first 2 people, Gaius and this Diotrephes. And we're going to look at those two examples. You notice the difference between 2nd John and 3rd John almost immediately. 2nd John was written to this woman, or rather written to, we believe, a church. Now he's addressing individuals within the church. And we're going to look at those individuals particularly. So let's start out with the first 4 verses. As we look at these first 4 verses, we have our introduction. This is very basic. First of all, we have the elder. Notice the name John is not mentioned, but we do believe that this is the Apostle John, the same one that wrote his gospel, the one that wrote 1st John, 2nd John, 3rd John. They're very similar books, including the book of Revelation. This is a letter, so this is going to follow the rules of a letter. This letter opens up like a typical letter. You see the elder who wrote it, and then to the beloved Gaius. So the whole letter is to this guy, the entire thing, Gaius, all the way to the end, even when he deals with other people. And the introduction of the letter seems to deal with not just Gaius, but he tells us a lot about this guy. He says, I love you in truth, and that he's praying for him and praying that all may go well with you and that you may be in good health. This is a standard greeting. One of the things about letter writing is this. In Latin, you'll see this little phrase. It's one of my favorite phrases. Si vales valeo means if you're good, I'm good. If things are going well with you, things are going well with me. And he seems to be saying something similar here. I pray that all may go well with you and that you may be in good health as it goes well with your soul. He gives more information about Gaius. He says, I rejoiced greatly, right here, I rejoiced greatly when the brothers came and testified to your truth. So apparently people had come to John and had said to him, Gaius is a faithful brother. He is doing well. It testified to your truth. And they said he was walking in the truth. So John is not writing to someone that needs rebuke. He's not writing to someone that needs to be necessarily corrected. This is an encouraging letter. This is someone that peace rests on him. And you can think of Jesus when he says to missionaries that are traveling around, look for the man of peace. Look for the house of peace. If peace is there, then you can stay there, a brother of peace. This is one of those men. He's walking in truth. And look at what John says here in verse 4. Seems to indicate his relationship with Gaius. He says, I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth. And John is being a pastor here. He's saying the thing that makes his heart leap is the fact that his sheep are walking well. And I can testify to that. I can definitely feel that. And doesn't it hurt when you see your brothers and sisters not walking in truth? It stings the heart to see that they're struggling. And then you begin to pray more earnestly sometimes. Other thing I want to say about this is he says, my children. What does this tell us? Possibly Gaius may have been a direct disciple of John. Perhaps he was a convert from his teaching, and he had known Gaius for a while. We don't know. We can only do a little bit of mirror reading into the text. When he says, my children, there seems to be a personal note there. And maybe John is writing as a pastor to a fellow former disciple who is now a leader in the church. It seems, by the way he's writing, that Gaius is a leader in the church, that he is someone of importance, that he is leading other people, and that he's doing a great job. Maybe he doesn't call Gaius a fellow worker, as you see in other gospels, or sorry, not gospels, but letters. But he seems to write to him as a lower individual, as a child But some of the things that he's doing, Gaius is doing, seem to indicate that he's in a position of leadership, and that's what I want to get to. So let's look at Gaius. He says, "Beloved, it is a faithful thing you do in all your efforts for these brothers, strangers as they are, who testified to your love before the church." So, what does he mean here? First, it's a faithful thing you do in all your efforts for these brothers, strangers as they are, who testified to your love before the church. First, who are these brothers? Okay? Who are these guys? Well, they are, he calls them strangers, meaning they're not well known. They're not unbelievers. Okay? Sometimes strangers can be used, or foreigners can be used as non-believers, sometimes with the wording. The wording here, he's saying these guys, though they're not well known, they're still brothers. They're Christians. They're believers. And here's what they've done, these brothers. They've testified about Gaius's love before the church. So they've come bringing a message to another church about Gaius. And apparently Gaius has been helping them. He says they've benefited, right, from your efforts. Well, what sort of efforts are we talking about here? He says, "You will do well to send them on their journey in a manner worthy of God." And then it gives more information, and here's this information about who these brothers are. I'm going to circle these brothers here again. I'm going to draw it down to verse 7. "They have gone out for the sake of the name." So this identifies who these brothers are. They are missionaries. They have gone out for the sake of the name above all names. All right? So they're missionaries, and they've gone out, and they're preaching. In 2 John, we remember that we dealt with false teachers, false preachers. These are not false. These are true people who have gone out for the sake of the name. Okay, so they're very good, true, loving missionaries. And here's what John is saying to Gaius. He says, "You will do well to send them on their journey in a manner worthy of God." And then he says about these guys who've gone out for the sake of the name, he says, "They've accepted nothing from the Gentiles. Therefore, we ought to support people like these, that we may be fellow workers of the truth." Well, I've done quite a bit of marking up here. At this point, I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to mark on it again. I want to talk a lot about these missionaries and Gaius's role as a supporter for them. So, these people who have gone out for the sake of the name, these missionaries, John is charging Gaius to do what he's already doing and doing well, to send them out on their journey in a manner worthy of God. So let's picture then, we have these missionaries coming into a town, and they need support. They need help. And they're genuine missionaries. What do we do with these genuine missionaries who have gone out for the sake of the name? In this culture, they would stay at homes. We said this in 2 John. They would stay at other Christian homes. And John encourages that if a genuine, true preacher of the gospel comes into your town, we need to support these people. We need to support them as though God himself. Send them out. Send them on their journey as though we're sending off the Lord himself in a manner worthy of God. I say the Lord himself, as though they are working on behalf of not just a message, but the messenger, the God of the gospel. This has a lot of implications for us. Well, first of all,